God. You'll get comfortable with this world. Overkill, can you hear me?
I can. How are you? You okay, man?
Yeah, man. Good to finally speak to you. I don't think we've ever spoken on a panel.
We spoke on Dan's. We spoke on Dan's briefly with Hassan Sabah was there as well. But it's my first time on your channel, so yeah, big up for that.
Big up, man, and big up the work you do. The work you do, sort of against the haters. Yeah, if anyone doesn't know Overkill's channel, and I don't know, maybe you want to give a little bit of a sort of a introduction as to your views and what you do, Overkill.
You cut up for me then, Jordan.
So what I was saying is maybe you want to give a slight introduction as to what you do on YouTube, what you've been up to.
No worries. I think I told you this before, Jordan, but I was just looking into Islam for a bit because I worked with a lot of Muslim guys. So I was just interested and came across sort of Darren Hamza. Enjoyed his videos, and funny enough, one of the first ones I watched with him was Braydon. And then I started doing videos about Braydon because I'd never met a guy like that who's just so openly like racist or anti-Islam and saying it in front of loads of people recorded on YouTube. So I just make videos about these kind of things, wondering to myself whether these are real people or they're paid to act in the same way.
Yeah, I've heard you kind of got some conspiracy theories surrounding Speaker's Corner, and I wouldn't doubt them, to be honest, from my experience of being down there and the way people move and the things people say. You have to sort of be there to see it, I guess. But I remember that first video with Hamza and Braydon, actually. And I remember Hamza told us that he thought he was all right, you know, because he just seemed a bit lost. He just seemed like he didn't know much about Christianity and was kind of asking questions that didn't really make sense. I think he was a bit tipsy, but I think he's most of the time he is down there. But yeah, he's certainly turned into a completely different animal since that video, I would say.
Agreed. That's exactly what I was going to say. When you see that first video, you just think, okay, he's a normal guy. But then there's some of the things that he said. If you were to say those things outside a mosque or outside a nightclub, anyone knows what would happen to him. But the fact that they know that they can do it in a safe space, which is in the park, they probably got people there to protect them anyway. There's one guy that I always see there, big tall guy with shades, dark hair. I swear to you, he's part of security down there.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't want to get too much into it, but I often wonder why the police allow things going on down there when they know about it. I don't know whether it's kind of used as a place to kind of catch perhaps extreme people on the be it Islamist or far right or far left, whoever it is. It seems to be the police seem to almost let people there and kind of experiment with them, which is, I think, is a strange concept. But yeah, Go on, mate.
I think some of what they do is there just to sort of test out people's reactions. Other things is literally to try and provoke people. Obviously, things that spring to mind would be Tan when he was saying F Islam at the top of his voice in front of lots of peaceful Muslim people. And then what was quite funny about that afterwards is that Steve, the atheist, was sort of having a go at the police for taking Tan away, when that is what you should be doing, because at the end of the day, you don't want a riot. You have freedom of speech, of course, but you don't want a riot, you know?
Yeah, I agree 100%. Tan was a really interesting kind of almost phenomenon for me at the park, because I remember being there. That was sort of in the early days I went, and I remember him saying like all sorts of stuff. You know, wants to reduce the Muslim population, talked about masturbating on the Quran, throwing it on the floor, all these kind of things. And there was kind of this consensus at the park that he's got his freedom of speech and that he should just be left alone. And Muslims were often told, anyone that kind of went near Tan, oh, look at this violent Muslim, or things like that. However, it seemed to me, and this is my sort of recollection of it, is that as soon as Tan turned on the Tommy boys, turned on everybody else, he used the N word, turned on the Jews, he did that speech. Collectively, it seemed like everybody he was suddenly taken out of the park. And I thought, to be honest, I thought that would be been nice to have seen earlier, because he was clearly somebody that was a bit vile even before that. But for me, it was interesting how, through all the anti-Islam stuff, it's freedom of speech. But as soon as he started turning on the people, it all of a sudden became not freedom of speech. And I think that is more or less the Tommy definition of freedom of speech: is say what you want about Islam, but you dare burn a poppy or anything like that, and you're in trouble.
One of the worst things that he said, Tommy Robinson, was he's standing outside loads of people's houses and he just turns around and said, "These are all enemy combatants." You don't say stuff like that. This is so inflammatory. It's so inflammatory, and it builds up like pictures in your head of like us against them. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's amazing that people still claim that Tommy isn't racist, and I think Tommy, to be fair to him, I mean, to be honest, I don't pay a lot of attention to him. I think there are a lot bigger fish out there than Tommy. But he's been a kind of a master at sort of. I think he's almost been taught how to say certain things without perhaps having the racist thing put upon him. But he certainly slipped up. I know he slipped up recently with the Somalian comment, didn't he? What is it? Was it he said about Somalians that they're all barbarians and something in their country? I think he was talking about Mo Farah. But yeah, I think Tommy, it's like I said, I think his time's done. I think he tried to get a lot of political support, and it showed massively that in general British people don't really support a guy like that, and so I think his time's more or less done. Now we've obviously got the ethno nationalist and civ nationalist, which I'm sort of sitting back and watching, see how that unfolds as well.
Yeah, and I've been talking to people about this. It's like these terms have only just sort of appeared the last few years, and it's just all about dividing people as much as you possibly can. Even Brexit for me was a way of dividing the country into two, and it also caused a lot of tension between people who voted the opposite. And it's just ridiculous because they probably made their minds up anyway beforehand, and it was just smoke and mirrors. That's what I think anyway.
Yeah, I agree, and I think is there a real? I mean, there is obviously a clear difference between ethno nationalism and civic nationalism, but I can't help but feel that the sentiments are based from the same kind of mindset, and that's why a lot of civic nationalists have kind of moved over to the ethno nationalists, almost like a stepping stone into that direction. But yeah, look, I'm just enjoying seeing them all argue. Seeing Steve and Ralph actually debating, as opposed to, because in my experience at the park, you go there and it's kind of Muslims versus non-Muslims. Everybody's united against Islam, and now there's a totally different dynamic down there.
The thing about Ralph is he's getting attacked from all kinds of different people now, like you just mentioned, Steve, but also Lister carries on doing it. And even Joseph the Zionist was doing it the other day, and Ralph seems to be like losing his grip. He like looks older. He looks like he's not in control of his own actual body. His body language is just crazy.
Have you seen the film Taxi Driver, where he suddenly shaves his head and starts looking in the mirror, going a bit mad? I remember thinking, I saw him the other day, shaved head, crazy look in his eyes. He's live streaming now every day. I don't know how serious to take him anymore. When I first approached him at the park, I was actually quite concerned, because I thought, hang on a minute, this guy is actually openly doing Nazi salutes. He's in the comments saying he's going to blow people up. But I think the more I've got to know Ralph, the less serious I've kind of taken him. But I can't really deny that he seems to have kind of developed a little bit of a following. Which I don't know, just bizarre. He's kind of a walking contradiction, but people still sort of I don't know, latch onto him a bit.
What you said there, walking contradiction, that's exactly what I say, and I put it on my memes about these guys all the time, because that's all they are. It's like BVM, he's got a song on his channel when it shows you the lyrics, and he says, I have the unification plan, yeah? Okay, so you're trying to unify United Kingdom by showing Ralph and Braydon and giving them time to speak without interrupting, without questioning them. Yeah, that's brilliant, mate.
Yeah, Ben says it's a weird following, and I agree. Whether it's that Jamie guy that's next to Ralph that's sort of always licking his lips, whether it's people like Banksy, yeah, it's quite good in a way that all the people on that side are a bit kind of, they're not people that you'd exactly look up to, are they? It'd be a lot more concerning if it was kind of, really well spoken, good character, all those people that were sort of fighting for the ethno cause. But it's generally kind of, I don't want to say degenerates, that might be a bit unfair, but certainly people with those traits. All right, I think hopefully Man Like Overkill will come back on. I saw Dan might come on as well. Big up Dan, TRT. Let's get Overkill back. So yeah, look, I don't know, for some of my subscribers, you might not really know what we're talking about here. Obviously, generally, I like to talk Islam and things like that, but there's sort of at the moment, a sort of a political kind of issue going on. Got you back, Man Like Overkill.
Yeah, sorry about that. I couldn't unmute myself. The thing about the people that go sort of follow Ralph, they all seem to be disgruntled white males who may have had like broken homes, drug problems. And if you think about it, it's quite sad that he sort of targets these people and tries to groom them into becoming anti-Islam or very far right or whatever it might be. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think interestingly, the Islamic side has whittled down a bit now. He's kind of more talks about the left and even calls Steve a lefty, and he suddenly turned on all sorts. So yeah, I don't know, man. These guys flip flop so often. But anyway, one thing I'd like to speak to you about actually, because I've spoken to BVM a couple of times, but you obviously, I think you've spoken to him on a panel and kind of. I don't know what the word is. I guess you kind of roasted him with a few of your questions. I don't really know how to work that guy out, but I think you seem to have a better picture.
Well, basically, I think if you ask people the simplest of questions and all they do is deflect and just try to sort of bring it to a playground level, that makes you look really bad to start with. And remember, this guy is the one who's like got a YouTube channel with 40,000 views on some of his videos, and he's going to Tommy Robinson marches, and he's out there. But I don't see anything of fibre with him. I don't know. I just get the feeling that he's paid to be there. He's just paid to put that camera in front of Braydon and Ralph, let them talk, not question it. He's a token minority on the far right, which is perfect for them because it makes them look less racist, or that they couldn't be racist.
Yeah, I agree. Look, for me, I definitely had question marks, obviously on him because of the, firstly claiming you're unbiased and then sort of only being sort of a kind of a journalist for one side and claiming that you're there to see if they're racist, but you seem to be there enjoying yourselves. And I noticed he was even at the Brexit celebration, where I think someone might have tried to headbutt him or something. I heard, but there's certainly, I think it's better when people are just straight up, because he's clearly not unbiased. He clearly leans towards that way of thinking, even by the way he questions Islam. And I think when I met him at the park, it's always one thing I want to always establish when I get there, because for me, I don't feel like I should go to Speaker's Corner and be on trial every time. Just because I'm Muslim, I should be kind of interrogated. I should be able to ask questions too, and so if someone starts questioning me about Islam, one of the first things I want to find out is how much do they actually know about what they're talking about. And it's quite clear that BVM's turned up to the park to to question Islam, but hasn't even read a page or two about it. And so you kind of wonder, well, where's the sincere kind of how is that sincere? Because I would certainly look into something if I genuinely wanted to question it. Otherwise, what is the motive? What is the point? And I can't put my finger on it with him. It may just be someone who wants a bit like that real guy. I think you probably know him more than me, but someone who just wants to make a bit of a buck off YouTube and make a bit of a name for himself. And it seems to be quite popular to be in with the sort of far right crowd.
I see what you're saying, but I just always come back to the fact that he's getting paid, because before he started doing this, he was just doing gaming videos, and they were getting very few views, and then all of a sudden he starts to go on Tommy Robinson marches, and then the views go right up. So what I don't get is what qualifies him as someone who can really go to these places and sort of report on it. I would say he's definitely not unbiased, because he's always hanging around with the far right. You know, hangs around with some very dodgy people like Danny Tomo, who's convicted of kidnapping someone. He follows Tommy Robinson, but didn't even know his real name. He said, "Oh, I've come here to research Tommy Robinson because he's getting too big." He didn't even know his real name, Stephen Yaxley Lennon. I asked him about 30 times. He couldn't even say, "No, I don't know who that is." This is the kind of guy we're working with, dealing with here.
Yeah, but wouldn't you ask the question? Whoever's paying him, it can't be giving him that much. It's not doing a great job, or is that effective? I don't know. Would you just sort of pay a guy that has no knowledge just to turn up somewhere with some design account?
It just depends who questions him. If he doesn't get people like me questioning him, or you, or Respect that day, then he'll get away with it. But as long as there's people like us that do question him, he will end up looking like the paid stooge that he is. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. 100%.